This is not even ethical at this point. To be sneak attack surprising him, exploiting the worst moment of his entire life for clicks and views. Yuck. This girl should never do an interview again. Gross. For them, it's like, it's tea. It's a tea session. It's gossip fodder. It's like, how can we get clicks on, the little TikToks that we post? How can we get people to tune into this episode? Your response to that is, let's make his life hell. I'm going to use my crying daughter as a weapon against this person and punish them. You're sick. They're not kind. They're not empathetic. They don't think about other people. They don't think about anyone but themselves. The entitlement is so strong.
And if you don't want people to read your phone, then you need to turn the brightness all the way down, and you need to sit in a position where someone behind you could not read your phone.
Or maybe just mind your own business and stop reading people's phones. Did you try that? These two are insufferable. Well, I think I finally found the most insufferable couple on the internet. One of their recent interviews has been going viral for, let's just say, all the wrong reasons. It was so terrible, in fact, that it's ignited quite the response from the internet, okay? People are pissed.
Here's what we're doing today. We are not only unfollowing, because unfollowing isn't enough. We are blocking. We are blocking Viall Files. We are blocking Nick Viall. We are blocking Natalie Viall. These people are the worst. They're not even good at what they do. How do you have somebody come onto your show and you ask them such deeply insensitive, personal questions? How?
So this is one of many responses, and without seeing the actual interview clip that she's referring to, it may seem dramatic, okay? Let me just say, it is not.
All the Nick Viall fans, stand up. There has to be more of us out there. And by us, of course, I don't mean me. I mean you. I don't understand. Please defend your position in the comment. Tell me what you get from him. Why do you listen to this podcast? What are you getting here that you're not getting anywhere else? I'm so confused how he even has a viewership.
Look, all valid questions. And because I'm not personally a viewer of this podcast either, I also had these questions. So let me try to explain to you what's going on here. So the podcast is called the Viall Files. It's hosted by Nick Viall and now his wife, Natalie Joy. You may recognize him from being part of the Bachelor franchise. Okay, he's part of Bachelor Nation, which is a very strong, I would say, fan base and community. Okay, it's like a very big ecosystem. I don't think people that are outside of Bachelor Nation realize, and maybe even inside of Bachelor Nation, realize how big it is and how strong it is. A lot of people that do go on The Bachelor end up having careers in social media afterward because the fan base is so strong. So Nick has actually 4 times the strength because he was actually on 4 different Bachelor seasons. I think that might be a record or something, I'm not sure. So he started originally on The Bachelorette as one of the contestants. Then he was on another season of The Bachelorette, again as one of the contestants, made it all the way to the rose ceremony in both, and then wasn't picked. Then he was on Bachelor in Paradise, didn't find anybody from there. And then he was on his own season of The Bachelor as the leading guy, okay? And, that didn't work out either. So he's very prolific in Bachelor Nation. He's been able to turn social media into a career when he started his podcast called the Viall Files, okay? It's become very popular because he gets a lot of celebrity and like reality TV star guests because he's in that world. So not only is he in like the Bachelor Nation franchise world, but he's now in like the Bravo universe world, all types of reality TV, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. This has become kind of the go-to podcast for whatever reason to do reality TV show interviews, big celebrity interviews. Don't ask me why. That is one question I cannot answer for you. Now, having watched several episodes, it's a mystery to me. So initially he hosted the Viall Files solo, but he's brought on his wife as his co-host. And a lot of people will cite that this was, let's say, the demise of the podcast, okay? The beginning of the end. A lot of people don't enjoy listening to the two of them together. And one of the main reasons is because there's a lot of controversy surrounding their relationship. And one of the most notable being that they're in a significant age gap relationship of about 18 years. He's 44, she's 26. A lot of people find it odd. I think she was about 20, 21 when they got together. A lot of people have some not so great opinions about age gaps that large. But these two have seemingly capitalized on the controversy surrounding their relationship and have actually landed a new Netflix show that should be debuting this year. And it's called Age of Attraction. Basically, the concept is like, is age just a number? They're going to put in singles, I think from 22 to 59 years old, and just kind of see who gets along and like who wants to date. These two are hosting it. So for the people that are calling for Natalie to be removed from the podcast, I really don't see that happening anytime soon because these two are now deeply entrenched in being a public couple, okay? And like being a great couple that's in an age gap relationship and representing that. So removing her from the podcast would not send a good message. So hopefully that answers your questions about who they are and why they're so popular. But let's get back to the interview that has people so upset. So the backstory here is that they're interviewing Austen Kroll, who is on a popular show called Southern Charm, okay? And right off the bat, this interview starts out very uncomfortable.
I feel like it was up until last season when Nick was like, this season's kind of boring. And then
Did I say that?
I think
getting me in trouble, right?
No. No, this was last season. It had like just started, and you're like, the season's a little boring.
Yeah.
And then Austen was like, I'm not coming on that show. You called us boring, and we were like, no.
That's right.
So giving some context here, there's a lot of celebrities, especially reality TV show celebrities and people in the entertainment world, let's say, that do not want to go on Nick Viall's podcast. They have publicly stated that he's a very controversial character. He's got this asshole persona. He's not afraid to say how he feels about people, which I think some people enjoy about him, but it also can come across as very rude. And what they're talking about here very uncomfortably is Austen originally did not want to go on the Viall Files because Nick was publicly talking about the show and about the cast of the show, saying that they were boring.
I didn't hear that.
I've heard more than you've heard. Let's put it that way. I've heard that. I've heard that the boys of Southern Charm are afraid to come on the show.
I might have said that.
I've heard a few things.
Well,
and,
I go from like daring people.
So I think this part of the interview illustrates that these two are not friends, okay? Nick is a chronic talker. He frequently taunts people saying, if you don't come on his show, you're scared of him. You don't want to take accountability, things like that. It's super weird. It's kind of hostile, honestly. But obviously, Austen, in this sense, has agreed to put those things aside and come on the podcast for today.
Little BTS. It was supposed to be Shep.
It was.
We still hope to get Shep on. We were planning and having conversations with getting you on this season. But unfortunately, Shep, like some other people, including, I think,
Leonardo DiCaprio,
are stuck on the island of St. Bart's.
So yeah, this is another extremely weird moment where they acknowledge that they actually wanted somebody else to be on the podcast from Southern Charm, and Austen wasn't supposed to be on this episode. They were really hoping to talk to this other guy named Shep, but he obviously couldn't make it. So, I think it's kind of a weird thing to acknowledge. To me, it reads as kind of rude to say, oh, we were really hoping to get this guy, but you'll do. And clearly Austen is doing them a favor by coming and stepping in and being a guest for this episode. But this makes Nick and Natalie look 10 times worse, given the clip that you're about to watch. The one that's upset everybody.
quickly jumping out of Southern Charm, I'm sure we're going to jump right back into it. But going into your childhood, I didn't know this about your sister passing at 9.
Okay, we are switching gears.
Sorry.
By the way, this clip gets much worse, but this was the moment where people are like, what the hell is wrong with this girl? For context, Austen's sister tragically passed away when she fell off a cliff during a family hiking trip when she was 9 years old. Austen and his family were there. So not only is sibling loss one of the most traumatic, horrible things that could ever happen in someone's lifetime, but he was actually also there to witness it. He has discussed it on the show Southern Charm, but if you're going to ask a question like this, number one, have some tact. Have some empathy and compassion. Don't just say, yeah, I didn't really know your sister was going to pass away, and not let him know beforehand that you're going to be asking him this question. A lot of people are having problems right now with these types of podcasts because you have a bunch of vapid influencers who have no respect for journalism and no respect for the craft and the art of asking people tactful questions, okay? Ethical questions. This is not even ethical at this point. To be sneak attack surprising him, exploiting the worst moment of his entire life for clicks and views. Yuck. This is how I know for sure they did not ask him beforehand. He's completely stunned by this question, as anybody would be. And, the backstory of all of this, knowing that he came on and did them a favor because he's not even supposed to be on the podcast at this day. And Nick hasn't exactly been kind to him outside of this podcast, okay, in things that he said about the show and about the cast. This is heinous. And by the way, her smiling ear to ear does not sit right with me either.
And you obviously don't have to answer if you don't. My question is, how old were you when that happened?
7.
You were 7.
Yeah.
What's amazing is she's not even really pretending like she knows anything about what happened with the sister. Yuck. The way that she's approaching this conversation is just wrong. And I'm not saying that you have to be a professional interviewer. You don't have to go to school for journalism, but have some understanding of how to phrase these questions if you're even going to ask them at all. But this is not even close to being appropriate, especially when he had no clue that this was coming. She has no even inflection in her voice of like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Weird question, but like, what is your younger sister's relationship with your sister who passed? If they're in a almost kind of spiritual way.
Look, this isn't a weird question. It's completely inappropriate. This is extremely invasive, especially when his sister's not there to speak about it. It's like not even a question that Austen can answer, really. These people have zero tact. They have no clue how to interview somebody. They have no clue how to talk about important, hard, and difficult topics that need to be handled with care. By the way, this came 10 minutes into the interview. Okay, she dropped so I didn't really know this about your sister. What's the tea with that? She said this 10 minutes into the interview. They dropped this on him.
I'm sure that she does have a relationship in a way with my sister Kyle.
That's fascinating.
Were you there when she fell?
Yeah.
You were?
Yeah.
This is absolutely insane. Just do one search. She clearly knows nothing about this person, which is beyond disrespectful. By the way, if you're hosting a reality TV show podcast and you're having reality TV show guests on there, I would hope that you know at least basic things about them. It's like she knows nothing, yet she wants to exploit his worst pain so they can get clicks on their podcast. It's just fucking gross.
You were?
Yeah.
What was this cliff?
It is no exaggeration to say this is probably the worst question I have ever heard someone ask in an interview. Completely tactless, disgustingly apathetic, bordering on actually cruel. What's the thing with that cliff? Like it's some kind of tea session. Hey, so like, oh my God, what was going on with that? Like that cliff. What's up with that? Excuse me? The cliff that his sister tragically fell from. Give us the details about this cliff. It's so disgusting. And you can clearly see, and you're about to see in his response, that he finds this question completely inappropriate. Okay, I'll say it for you. He's completely, once again, caught off guard in the worst way. He's being very polite to two people that have absolutely no empathy. This girl should never do an interview again. Gross.
See, to talk about, the town, it just got, wiped off the map by a hurricane, and there was no love lost with my family on that one.
You can see he's shaking his leg because he's so uncomfortable. The body language does not lie here. I feel so sorry for him.
I won't even say the name of the town for terms of, but there was no love lost with it. And yeah, I don't know.
You don't have to say anything. Nobody should be asking you these questions. Obviously, Natalie is the one who's asking these antagonizing, invasive questions and deserves a lot of the blame for this. But Nick is also not helping. This is another thing he said in response to listening to Austen's story.
I mean, I'm such a big believer in, so much of our success in life has to do with our resiliency, our ability to get over adversity. But I have been grateful and lucky that I've never experienced anything that tragic.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that I've never went through anything like what you've went through. Who says that? That must be awful. I'm so glad I never experienced anything like that. That would be horrible. Look at Austen's face. These two are insufferable. I don't even know how they've made it this far on this podcast and to the point where they're still getting guests. This is wrong. To me, it just comes off as extremely insensitive. Talking about yourself, it has nothing to do with you. I think that that's the last thing people would want to hear is how your life has been so great and so blessed. I mean, read the room. But neither of them can do that because they have, once again, zero tact. I will keep saying it. And if you're wondering what the response was from this podcast, which is still up, by the way, it was not good. There is not a single positive comment, okay? Everyone's horrified, as they should be, rightfully so. So this one says, kind of wild how you just randomly dive into his sister. That is a painful topic with no empathetic transition into it. Obviously, he doesn't have a problem talking to you guys about it, but you can tell he was shocked at how you brought it up. Even if he's totally open to talking about these things, which I don't actually believe that he is, personally, personally based on his body language. You don't ever have a conversation like this in this way. It has to be the person who had the traumatic thing happen leading the conversation, not the other way around. Are you okay, Natalie? What a rude and awful way to ask these questions about a sister. Y'all are weird. Time for Natalie to take a back seat. Natalie, that was the most unprofessional and rude segue into a question about a sister I've ever seen. Extremely insensitive. This is my problem with any influencer having a podcast. You guys could not be more careless with your words. Austen was so kind as you both were careless and flippant about his grief. Exactly. What is this cliff? What kind of question is that? Natalie is not a great interviewer. I think it's time they let other folks interview talent, especially the team members who have much more historical context on the talent in their shows. They actually somewhat said that as well in the intro, saying, oh yeah, well, we didn't even really watch because the show's so boring. That was Viall. We've seen this man in tears when he talks about his sister on TV. She was 9 years old, a child, and you jump in like it's a question about a ham sandwich. The truth is, not everyone is meant to have a podcast. It's time to sunset this very average What happened today was gross, and a public apology to Austen is necessary. I agree. For them, it's like, it's tea. It's a tea session. It's gossip fodder. It's like, how can we get clicks on, the little TikToks that we post? How can we get people to tune into this episode? Immediately turned it off when she brought up his sister. Natalie, girl, you are so unaware of your behavior. Yeah, 10 minutes in, by the way. Need to remind everybody, 10 minutes in, she could barely wait. She was literally excited to ask him about this. She was planning this the whole time on her little iPad of questions. Unbelievable. By the way, they filmed, edited, and still decided to post this. Okay? There's something wrong here. In the entire camp. What is this cliff? The way I gasped. Totally inappropriate. Nick should be absolutely embarrassed by Natalie. What the hell? And by the way, I just have to say, these two have been rewarded time and time again, especially Nick, with opportunity after opportunity. Okay? Once again, it's a total mystery to me. They get rewarded, and this is one of the biggest podcasts. They're nominated for, I think, an award. They get all the big stars. Okay, if you want to watch like an interview of somebody from your favorite reality TV show, you probably have to watch the Viall Files because they get all the big guests for some reason. It's gross. Not me cringing at Natalie asking about his family dynamic after the death of his sister as if we didn't already know from actually watching the show. I wish Austen would have walked out after Natalie opened her big mouth. What the do you even need to know about the details of something so horrible and personal? Exactly. People were extremely upset about this interview.
When are we going to cancel the Viall Files? It is so unacceptable the way that they move to clearly not warn Austen Kroll that they're going to literally interrogate him and be so insensitive about his 9-year-old sister who died so tragically, changed the trajectory of the entire family's life, have no empathy, and not even warn him about switching up in the interview, and he was clearly like shook.
Yeah, remember she's like, yeah, just switching topics for a second, like we'll get back into that other stuff later. What?
This is something he has showed emotion about in every season of Summer House, and their parents themselves. So read the frickin' room and stop acting like you're journalists when you really are just sleuths.
She's absolutely right, and a lot of people are discussing this. This is the result of all of these influencers and untrained people hosting all these different interview type podcasts, okay, where they're like parading around as if they're journalists, and they have absolutely no respect for the genre, for the art, okay? There is an art, truly, to conducting a good, tactful interview, and people rarely these days can do it. Rarely. And it's now getting to the point where people are so lazy, they're not even looking stuff up about their guests. They just want money. Okay, they're turning out slop content over and over just so they can get clicks on their TikToks and their promo videos. It's sick. You don't need a Pulitzer Prize, but at least have some understanding of how to ask questions. Okay, look up your guest. Have respect for your guest, and also have respect for journalism, please.
Why do they still have such a successful podcast? The good thing is that you can tell it's kind of like going downhill, hopefully, maybe, because literally Jared Osmond or whatever his name is invited himself on the podcast. But I saw 20 seconds of the clip of Natalie being like so insensitive about Austen's little sister, and I'm like, blocked, done.
This was the tipping point for a lot of people. They're like, I cannot watch after this. No more.
This is just like so sad, and they need to be stopped. I'm so sick of it.
What was this cliff would have had me end up in jail? I think I would have walked out. And Nick saying that he's glad he never had that trauma.
For those of you who don't know, I developed a huge crush on Austen Kroll at BravoCon. And so naturally I had to listen to him on the Viall Files. And can I just have a word with Natalie and Nick about how to interview someone who has gone through a traumatic loss Like, Natalie was really like, okay, so let's talk about your sister. Like,
it's just basic empathy, basic human decency. You're talking to somebody who's had something horrible happen to them that you can't even imagine. On a personal level, how can you sit across from somebody and say that? That's what's so jarring. Like, what kind of a person says that?
As if she's like bringing up like an ex-girlfriend. It is his sister, his older sister Kyle, who passed away when he was 7. And they're so flippantly like, yeah, let's just like talk about it. Like, and then Nick makes it about himself. He's like, well, I'm fortunate enough that I've never lost someone myself, but as a dad, I try not to watch things where kids are harmed because it's just too much for me. I'm like,
that's a very good impression. By the way, that's a recurrent theme on the Viall Files, okay, is Nick talking about himself.
Like, it's too much for you? It's too much for you? It's probably too much for Austen right now when people in the press are flippantly bringing up, like, truly the most traumatic thing that a family could go through. And then Natalie's like, so, like, what happened? Like, what was the deal with, like, the cliff that she fell off of?
Can I bring it up again? He was on there as a favor to them, and they weren't exactly friends either. You don't have these kind of conversations with people 10 minutes into a podcast.
What was going on with that? So not only do you catch him off guard with, like, a really intense question that you flippantly introduced, but now you're asking your guest to recount details of like the most traumatic memory of his life and the worst thing that could ever happen to a person and their family. Like, are you okay? Are you okay?
No.
I have never been on the Nick and Natalie Viall hate train, but this interview and the way Natalie handled it with Austen Kroll from Southern Charm when he went on the Viall Files and the episode was released today, my jaw kind of dropped with how insensitive Natalie was. The insensitivity and the way I have to question if you do research on any of your guests before they come on your show.
She said she didn't know that had happened to his sister. It sounded like she found out that morning. It's so gross.
Natalie, all you would have had to do was a quick Google search and you would have had all of your answers instead of putting Austen on the spot about
laziness.
Really traumatic from his childhood and incredibly traumatic for his family. You probably couldn't see in the clips I just showed you, but even Nick was giving her this look, and as she's asking what the cliff was, you can see very subtly with his hand kind of is giving her the what are you doing?
But by the way, watch their new Netflix show coming out in 2026. It's just pure laziness. Lazy interviewing, not taking your job seriously, not having basic respect for people. It's that simple.
And while I think it's actually perfectly reasonable for her to have eventually asked him about this, because he's talked about it on the show and he's talked about it more than once, you couldn't just warm him up for more than 10 minutes.
If you're doing interviews with people, you need to be asking them before the interview, and this is a common thing that people do in entertainment, is they will ask the person and they'll say, hey, just so you know, we're planning on asking you this. Is this okay? So they're not completely blindsided. You never just jump in and say, so what was that? What's up with that cliff that your sister tragically fell from?
Natalie, I don't really know what's going on lately. It could be that I'm only just now noticing some of the things that you're saying, which kind of read immature and emotionally immature, as well as being kind of socially unaware of what's happening around you.
They are grossly underqualified to conduct interviews the way they do. And look at his leg, extremely anxious and uncomfortable. His leg was moving a mile a minute. He was so upset. Unless it was discussed in advance, it was wildly inappropriate to even bring it up to begin with. Nobody deserves to be blindsided by the most traumatic event in their life. Conversations around grief can be incredibly helpful to others if they're done in the right way. This signals to me that Natalie and Nick likely haven't experienced a comparable level of grief, which means they lack the life experience and empathy required to conduct a conversation of this nature. They're both insufferable.
Not only did they bring up her death, but Natalie also pressed Austen for specific details. This to me is a prime example of podcasters not doing their homework, or at the very least a quick Google search before sitting down with their interview subjects. And if you ask me, Nick and Natalie both owe Austen an immediate apology for this.
Maybe they have issued an apology to Austen privately. I certainly would hope so, but I'm not even sure that there's even an explanation. I just don't know that a good person can sit across from someone and ask these types of questions.
The hardest thing to reconcile for me with the Austen Kroll interview on the Viall Files is that the Viall Files has built its identity around being a show that holds people accountable during their interviews, right? Like they hold their feet to the fire, make them answer the hard questions. But anytime the roles are reversed and Nick and Natalie need to show like 1 ounce of accountability for a misstep, they refuse to do it.
She's 100% right. Where's that same standard for the both of you?
We're sitting here however many days later and there's been no apology made to Austen. And it's just like, they're always preaching accountability to their guests, and I just never see them take any themselves. And people make mistakes during interviews, right? Like maybe she was nervous. Maybe she thought it was going to come out different than it did. I don't know.
They're in charge of the editing and the publishing of that episode. They so easily could have taken it out. They even now could take it out.
But I'm just thinking, like, if I publicly embarrassed my guest and watched it back and was like, wow, that was a very jarring way to ask a question, I would like be apologizing.
The only thing that we have heard, because they've been posting as usual, like business as usual, literally, is he commented on his own reel and said, "We love Austen." And he actually spelled Austen's name wrong. Okay, so that just goes to show how much respect he has for Austen, okay, his guest that he had on the show, that he's been able to exploit now for views and for cash. And, you know, it's just so gross. It's entirely possible that they filmed these episodes far in advance and like they haven't filmed the catch-up episode yet, but it's like, how easy is it to post a TikTok? Hey guys, we shouldn't have said that. It's extremely easy. Hey guys, just so you know, this is not how I wanted this question to come out. It takes 2 seconds, actually. Guys, let's just put it this way. That interview with Austen was just the tip of the iceberg for these two. There are many, many more clips and situations and scenarios where these two have been completely entitled and completely and utterly insufferable. And this is just another example of that, where they're making somebody else's life hell. Once again, on their podcast, and they're just telling this story as if they're completely in the right. So basically, they were supposed to be on another flight, then they got bumped to a different flight. When they got bumped to this next flight, they were seated in 2 middle seats. So she was holding their baby in one seat. Nick was back in the middle seat, a couple rows back, okay? They were separated from each other.
Anyway, so we have priority boarding, families with children under 2.
Shout out United.
Shout out United. We board first, we get on the plane, and as walking on, I tell the flight attendant, like, we got bumped to this flight last minute, like, what do you think is our best course of action in sitting together?
I don't know why you asked that question.
I don't know either. And she was like, just be really nice and ask someone. I'm like, oh, I knew that.
Wait, you're expecting them to ask people
I don't know.
for us?
I just wanted to clue her in.
By the way, you're going to sense a theme here. These two think the world revolves around them. If they say that they want something, they think that they should automatically get it.
We sit in our 2 middle seats away from each other. I have River with me. The plane starts boarding. A man comes and sits beside me. He sits at the window. And I'm like, do you want to switch with my husband? He's like, no, I'm okay.
These are like middle-aged men.
2 middle-aged men. Actually, the second one was definitely older than Nick.
2 middle-aged men. Nick is saying that as if he's not also a middle-aged man.
So I'm sitting with River on my lap, and he comes and sits down, and I'm like, listen, I know this is like the least desirable ask, and I'm so sorry. My husband is 2 rows behind me, also in a middle seat. Would any part of you want to switch with him? I know it's like does not sound good at all. I just wanted to ask. Take some time to think about it.
Nothing wrong with the way she phrased the question. It seems as if she's acknowledging that, look, not desirable thing to do. You probably don't want to do it. I understand if you don't. And then everything she does after that completely negates anything she just said.
And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I've had a long travel week and I'd really prefer the aisle. And I was like, okay. So anytime I had put on, I think it was like Little Mermaid or something for River on the screen. And anytime they would announce something over the intercom, obviously the screen stops playing the movie, and River would be like, mama, and she'd kind of get upset. And I would just kind of like let her.
Just so entitled. You're making somebody's life hell, who just told you, by the way, that he's had a really long and hard day, okay? Probably a long and hard week. He might be flying home for some horrible reason that you have no clue about. And so your response to someone doing something that you've already acknowledged is not desirable, that nobody else would probably want to do this, which she wants him to move to a middle seat, rows back, middle seat, and he's in an aisle. Your response to that is, let's make his life hell. I'm going to use my crying daughter as a weapon against this person and punish them. You're sick.
Like, so you're choosing an aisle beside a baby.
No, enjoy the flight.
To enjoy your flight.
Get it. There's no good options. We're sorry we exist in this moment.
Yeah.
The lady who sat next to me, I asked, but I just.
What was her response?
She just said no. Her sister was also in the aisle across. She's like, I'm sitting next to my sister. Who didn't talk to her sister once on the flight.
Yeah. They're so rude. Mocking people, watching people to see if they're, utilizing the seat properly. It's just so weird. They're weird.
More important than daughter. And Nick was paying attention.
These two think they're the most important people in this world. The entitlement is so gross and so frustrating and so obvious.
But at least in her defense, her saying no was just still sitting next to me, as opposed to the man sitting next to Natalie. I was disgusted by him. I see this wedding ring. I'm like, dude, bro, like, here's an opportunity to you can feel good about yourself. You can feel like you did a kindness for someone else. I get it.
How long's the flight?
No,
Like 2 hours.
2.5 hours.
Yeah.
He's disgusted by this person that he doesn't even know because he refused to move from the seat that he paid for. You're disgusted by him. I mean, what's wrong with these people? The flight is 2.5 hours. What? He has to sit in the middle seat for 2.5 hours. And everybody knows, by the way, on these flights nowadays, you have to pay for your seat. Everything costs extra. He said he had a long, hard day. What is wrong with you? Why is your first response utter disgust, hatred, contempt, vitriol? I'm going to punish you. You're sick.
We're sorry we exist. There was no good options. You drew the unlucky straw sitting next to a mom with a child. And you have an opportunity. Yeah, it's a middle seat. But now you get to feel like a hero for the day. So I'm texting Natalie. I'm like, make his life miserable. I'm like, just let her go. Just let her. I don't care.
Let her rip.
Let her.
By the way, this is the same exact smile she had on her face when she was asking Austen Kroll about his sister passing away. Same response. You see how jarring that is? You see how these people are not good people? They're not kind. They're not empathetic. They don't think about other people. They don't think about anyone but themselves. The entitlement is so strong.
Just let her can go nuts. I'm just enraged by I'm assuming this is like a dad,
ruin his life,
a husband. Just step up, guy.
Look, these are just my thoughts, okay? Would it be a nice thing to do to move for someone so a family could sit together? Yes. Okay, were they in an unfortunate situation because they got bumped to a different flight because of a flight delay? Yes. But that's just life sometimes. No one was wrong in this situation until you decided to weaponize your crying daughter against this person and go on your public podcast and talk this guy who did nothing wrong. It just shows the level of self-importance and entitlement that they have, and it shows their true character by their response to this. And it shows a level of vindictiveness, in my opinion, that's actually sort of scary for people that have a public platform like they do. It's gross. Here are some of the comments. That plain hot take is crap. To deliberately make someone else's flight experience bad just because they didn't switch seats, so disgusting. The plane story was wild. Y'all are actually the shitty ones. Exactly. They have no clue though. That's what's sort of alarming. Your plane story just outed you both as terrible people. Poor dude even apologized and opened up to you about having a hard day, and you just purposely made his flight awful. Who knows? Maybe he was flying to a sick family member. You can't fill others' cups from an empty one. Y'all are the ones with no empathy. Go touch grass. Okay. Second time, no empathy. People do not owe you anything, and we do not need to be the hero in some random person's story. That does not make you selfish. If anything, you guys are selfish for wanting to prioritize your experience over their own. Obviously, kindness is appreciated and welcomed, but it should not be expected and felt entitled to. People have their own going on in their lives. Yeah, exactly. He said, I've had a really long, hard day. I think I'd just prefer to sit in the aisle today. That right there tells you everything you need to know about these people, truly. Oh no, Nick and Natalie have become those airplane Karens. Your seat, your choice. Yeah, I'm sorry, but people don't have to switch seats if they don't want to. That's a bit entitled. A 2.5 hour flight and you want anyone to switch their non-middle seat to your middle seat? Get the out of here. At least offer cash or purchase them a drink. No one has to move for you, and this take of solo passengers being selfish is ridiculous. That airplane story was kind of disgusting behavior. To go out of your way to make someone else's flight unbearable is entitled behavior. Such privilege. Yuck. You're both showing what type of people you really are. Disgusting. Don't judge. It could be you one day. Why would I intentionally let my baby cry in an airplane just to spite the stranger sitting next to me for not giving up his aisle seat for my husband's middle seat 2 rows back? Exactly. Well, here's another airplane story that they told on their podcast. Okay.
But I did have a fight with a lady on the airplane.
Yeah, that's wild.
We're leaving LAX, running a little late. We were the last people to sit in business class. Everyone else had already sat. We sit down and River's in a mood where she's talkative. She's feeling spicy. She's not crying. She's not upset. She's going, hello to everyone who comes on the plane.
Yeah.
So they're still boarding the plane. We've not left the gate. And I clock the woman in front of me. Y'all know I love an eavesdrop phone read on an airplane.
It's just weird to say this out loud.
And if you don't want people to read your phone, then you need to turn the brightness all the way down. And you need to sit in a position where someone behind you could not read your phone.
Or maybe just mind your own business and stop reading people's phones. Did you try that? People don't have to do all these things and jump through all these hoops just so you don't invade their privacy. Just don't invade their privacy. Don't read on other people's phone. Do the right thing.
You don't hold it up like this.
you don't. And your text size also all the way up.
Oh yeah,
you know what
that's
I'm saying?
extra large. That's a public spectacle at that point.
So the woman
it's not, but okay.
in front of me, who I thought honestly like was going to be quite nice because we made an eye contact as we're boarding. So I read on her phone. The first thing I see is 18-month-old in business class. And I'm like, oh, here we go. She goes to a different group chat and she starts typing to her friends. There's some young couple, shout out Nick.
Yeah. Period.
Young.
Behind me in business class with their around year-old kid screaming up a storm. The kind of people who think it's cute. They need to learn how to quiet their kid down. Spells their kid, T-H-E-R-E. So wrong there. Their kid down. And then says the poor woman next to me is trying to work.
Once again, you shouldn't be reading this woman's phone. This is her private conversation. It may be a hot take, but people are allowed to complain in private.
Granted, we have not left the gate.
What are we supposed to do? Punish them? Put them in the corner?
It's like, do you want to try to quiet her down?
Yeah.
Please, feel free.
It's everybody else's problem. That's what I don't like. Okay, this is the second example. It seems like they actually enjoy their child disrupting other people's experiences. Because I do think they think the world revolves around them. I really do.
Should
What's
we
your
ask
tactic?
her nicely?
Yeah. As she's finishing her text, I lean up and tap her on the shoulder and I said, it's T-H-E-I-R there. Not that
Natalie.
I had no idea. I had no idea this was going on at the moment.
He loves it. He loves that his wife's doing this. She loves that she's doing this. They think they're really cool for doing this. She's completely in the wrong again. And they have no concept of that. That's what's so crazy.
I see Natalie lean forward and go, that's the wrong there. And I'm just like, I guess she's trying to be nice, but like, why would she do that?
She thinks she's being so cute and quirky.
She's like immediately like tries to hide her phone. And she's like, are you reading my screen?
Yeah, because you shouldn't be.
And I said, are you texting about my kid? She kind of like huffs and puffs and turns. And then she brings out her phone. Same level, same brightness, same text size. And starts going, she just confronted me about a spelling error. She's reading my text from behind me.
These two are insufferable. Just do not read people's phone. No excuses. Def not cool to read on her phone. Exactly. She expressed her annoyance in a private and non-confrontational way. Isn't that better than hassling tired parents? Exactly. I don't think there's any problem in quietly expressing frustration. Not going to lie, reading someone's text over their shoulder is super invasive. Yeah, they love invasive questions. They love acting invasive. They love invasive confrontations with people. Oh, they love it. They should be the invasive files. Be for real. You caused that whole confrontation. Yeah, it could have been nothing if you just let it go. Once again, you guys are taking things and ramping them up every single time and making other people's lives worse because you can't control yourselves. Entitled much? Thought this was going to go different. I have people complain about my kids in business class too, but it is when they are throwing tantrums about well-behaved kids that I will confront them. In her own phone, you're the issue here. Here's the thing. I don't think they think they're wrong about anything. If I had to guess right now and just make like a total shot in the dark guess, while they're getting all this backlash for the Austen Kroll interview and like every time that they've been called out, I think that they actually are just sitting at home brooding about how everyone else is stupid and people just don't understand them. They're completely in the right and they're like probably frustrated about that. Instead of reflecting about, hey, maybe I did say something wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. I don't think they're doing that. They always think they're right. This is so weird. The lady did nothing wrong, but okay. She admitted as well that her daughter, she was in a spicy mood. Okay. She was being maybe louder than usual. You're admitting that she's right about things, but just trust and believe. There are so many more. There could be easily a part 2 and 3 to this video of all the other things that Nick and Natalie have said and they have done. But to me, these are some of the most egregious and like obvious examples of just entitlement, vindictiveness, just being generally insufferable. This one really just takes the cake. Okay. So this recently resurfaced. This apparently was done in 2019 for someone who survived cancer. They ordered a cameo from Nick Viall. Let's just take a look at this.
Cancer-free. It's amazing. I have a cold, so I sound nasally.
You're cancer-free. Let me talk about myself and how I don't feel so good right now.
But enough about me. You're cancer-free. That's pretty amazing. You just finished chemo, all that stuff. I mean...
I don't believe what I'm watching. It feels like a skit, but it's actually not.
Power through. I don't know what that's like, but I bet that sucked.
He's already explained to everybody he's not been through anything traumatic. Well, it's obvious.
But you see in my nose, it's... Whew. Anyways, I'm so happy.
What? He can't stop talking about himself.
For you. That's really great news. Have some fun. I mean, live it up. I mean, just...
He doesn't know what to say.
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. I don't know how. I have a cold and whining about it. Anyways, all the best to you. Thanks for being a Bachelor fan. Take care. Congratulations. Bye-bye.
That might take the cake for worst cameo ever created. Worst one ever. It was like someone who's trying to hit the character limit of an essay. What was that? Imagine receiving that. This guy is the worst. Here was the review. Not a great video. Could have been much more thought for a cancer survivor. How much did he charge? Sounds like he charged $129 back in 2019. God awful. He said, I bet that sucked. I would ask for a refund. Yeah, this looks so old, but still insane. It's from 2019. He could have deleted and started over. He is lazy and thoughtless. Someone spent their hard-earned money to pay for a cameo to hear from you, and all you can do when you hear someone is cancer-free is talk about yourself and look at yourself in the viewfinder. It's shocking, okay? He might be the most insufferable person on the planet. He is. And he found his match, let's just say that. So anyway, guys, that's my vote for the most insufferable couple on the internet. I think I have a really good case built up, and some of those things are just shocking. So anyway, that's it for this video. As always, if you guys like this video, leave a like and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. There's tons more videos coming just like this one, so you're gonna want to be here for that, okay? Turn your notifications on, and I will see you guys in the next one.